Welcome to Tully. We're excited to have you, so let's get you started. The roles section is where we go to assign different team members different responsibilities. You can create a multitude of roles depending on how your team operates. It's all modular and all based around your team. For example, an assistant role may only have access to one of your artist catalogs, and you might not want them to be able to edit or delete anything, but let's say they can view, download, and upload. You can then go into content permissions and set it even further. Assistants don't really need access to your projects, not really your beats either, and they really don't need access to your master files either. What you can give them access to is contracts, documents, and media files. These are the things an assistant would be dealing with on a daily basis, so whenever they log into Tully, this is all they're gonna see. It keeps the information they need from being cluttered with what they don't, and also helps keep your files more secure by limiting the amount of eyes that are on it. We can do the same thing for a producer who we might also want to be able to edit. They don't need access to any of our masters. We can give them access to import new beats, and we can give them access to everything in our projects if we work with them exclusively. This is really useful in an Eminem, Dr. Dre style relationship where you're working exclusively with the producer. By giving them access to all of your projects, they'll be able to see what you're working on right then and there, whether it's a hook you created or some lyrics you have written down. The producer can then see that, take that into the studio, and create a beat around your thought process. As I mentioned before, this is all completely modular based on how your team operates, and creating these roles help keep your files more secure while keeping your team on task. Once you have some roles created, it's time to invite the users for your team. Now, there's 3 different types of users you can add here. You can add a basic user. This is someone who is not an artist but is on the payroll of your team, someone who works from your company who's going to be using this every single day. You can also add a guest account. This is someone who you're working with for a decent amount of time but isn't necessarily part of your company. An example of this would be an engineer that you don't work with exclusively but you're working with on a project. By creating them a guest account, you can give them access to all the necessary files they need while keeping it hosted within Tully, which keeps it more secure. And once you're finished with that project, you can deactivate the account so they no longer have access to those files, once again boosting the security of them. And the final kind of account we can create is adding an artist account. Adding an artist creates a new catalog, which allows you to keep your artist music separate. The steps for inviting a user are the same across all 3. Just enter their information and click invite. Once they accept the invite, you can assign them one of the roles you've created, and then their status will change to active. Doing this allows you to get your team members on the platform and give them those specific roles that they need, and keeping everything they don't need out of their way. Your team is probably going to change over time. So if you're a user that has admin access, you can go in and manage your users and edit your roles. Let's say your assistant is now going to handle sending your master files off to your distributor. Click the 3 vertical dots on your assistant role, hit edit role, and we can now give them access to our explicit master files and the clean versions. Hit save, and now any user assigned with this role will have the updated ability. If your team members ever change, you can go into the users tab, click the 3 vertical dots, and you can do any kind of edit you need to do here. When you're finished working with someone who uses a guest account, simply click deactivate user, and they no longer have access to any of your information. If you ever start working with them again, simply reactivate them. This allows you as the admin to have complete control over your data and who gets to see it. We know you're going to enjoy this new platform, and we thank you for being a user.